A big hello to the people of St. Mark's. Thank you for welcoming me to your pulpit. A big hello from the organization through which I serve, Minnesota Interfaith Power and Light. And a special thank you and shout out to the Climate Task Force here at St. Mark's and to its chair, Joe Ward. You all are one of the top green teams that we work with. We're very grateful for you. Very impressed with the work that's been going on here. Things like supporting the Clean Cars ruling, adult education hours on climate crisis, supporting other Episcopal churches to form green teams, and doing a full energy audit of all your facilities and beginning to embrace fulfilling that energy audit. It can take just a few minutes to go from warm home to lighten out for the territory. Today, we get the sequel of last week's gospel story. That installment was Celebrity Healer Returns to Hometown. Big parade, big party, Nazareth townies showering Joe and Mary's boy with praise. Jesus heaves Isaiah's prophecy high and proclaims, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me," bold italics me, and the crowd goes wild. The Messiah is in the house. And then right away, Jesus begins rooting for the other team. You know our hero Elijah, he says? Well, when the famine came, he didn't help Team Hebrew. He took care of Sidon. And when we got that first draft pick, Elisha, what did he do but put on a Syrian jersey and play for Coach Naaman? People don't like it when you pull for the other team. It's not the way the world's made. And they'll take you out to the edge of town and throw you off a cliff. We all have our tribe, our neighborhood, our posse. Vikings or Packers, Minneapolis or St. Paul, Democrat or Republican. You got to stick together. The Winter Olympics is kicking off this week. Who are you going to pull for? China? Russia? Are you really going to stay up till 2 a.m. to watch Lithuanians' bobsled team? No, of course not. If you stay up that late, you are bound to be pulling for the good old U.S. of A., the red, white, and blue. Jesus and the Olympics put me in mind of the 1980 Peter Gabriel hit, Games Without Frontiers. Andre has a red flag. Chang's is blue. They all have hills to fly them on, except for Lin Tai Yu. Supposedly about the Olympics, this song describes what sounds like children's playground games, including a nursery rhyme-esque whistling. But underneath, the grinding guitar and suggestive lyrics say that something more animalistic is going on here. Suki plays with Leo. Sasha plays with Britt. Adolf builds a bonfire. Enrico plays with it. Games without frontiers, war without tears. It's a reminder that sport only thinly veils the human tribal tendency, which can erupt at the smallest instigation into road rage or gang shooting or Air Force bombing, each with their own collateral casualties. This should come as little surprise to us Americans. We just completed a 20-year war in Afghanistan. For much of the 20th century, we were at war, hot or cold. It was the Revolutionary War that birthed our nation. The bombs bursting in air we sing at all our sporting events. And it took a war between us to hold us together in 1865. As indigenous and black siblings teach us, in some respects, we have been at war since the very first colonists stepped foot on this land. We call ourselves a nation of frontier people, conquering the frontier. And where does the word frontier come from? But from the military concept of the front, the edge, the line where my tribe ends and your tribe begins. Jesus points to a land where my tribe is your tribe is my tribe, a land with no lines, lands without frontiers, lands without tears. And after all, isn't that truly what the earth is? The unbroken natural circle, the literal ground of our being, the original womb that has sustained us ever since we were born? Isn't earth peace if we will let it be? If we will leave it be? This week, the Department of Interior canceled 2 federal mining leases that threatened to destroy the Boundary Waters canoe wilderness area forever. Many of us were elated and we celebrated. Many of you, perhaps. Perhaps you, like hundreds of thousands of other people, have rested in that part of Earth's natural womb, tasted its fresh waters, eaten its lake fish, warmed yourselves by campfires, and staggered at the Milky Way melting into giant white pines, while the ancient wind carries like an Anishinaabe drum in the distance. People who have been there know what it means that sun and rain fall on the just and the unjust alike. Another of Jesus' wisdoms. And yet, it was a small victory when we look at the whole earth, those mining leases, because the Boundary Waters is an exception that proves a frightening rule. The only reason there are sacred places and not sacred places is because we have desecrated places. And now with climate change, we continue to desecrate more and more, risking our entire womb, our home, becoming all frontier. This week it was interesting to see Vladimir Putin rally more troops and more tanks to saber rattle along the Ukrainian borders. And while he played along this frontier, the Siberian tundra burned. Wildfires in winter in Siberia. Firefighters had no water to put out the flames because it was all frozen. Are we like Putin, worried about our little personal wars, missing the true crisis of our time? And yet, for all this, nature is never spent. The earth is patient. The earth is kind. The earth is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. It is truth. And it rejoices when humans mind it and harmonize with it. The earth bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. The earth never ends. But as for what humans reckon, That'll end. Stock markets and sports games and spaceships and calculations and laws and histories and literature and even wars. All that will end. Because you and me and all our species, we only know in part. But when Earth is known in its fullness, the frontier ends.